Blood rain fell from the sky in all directions. The entire world seemed to have become scarlet at this moment. Is this the strength of an elite Dou Di? Even the heart of Yuan involuntarily felt a deep helplessness after seeing such a terrifying attack being destroyed by Han Tiandi with such ease. No wonder it was so difficult to reach this level. The gap between the both of them was just like two completely different worlds. You are actually fantasizing about being the world's savior with this strength of yours? Han Tiandi's scarlet eyes stared at Yuan. His tone contained a faint mockery. He immediately waved his hand. A blood light spluttered from his hand, after which everyone saw that the mountain below and the countless experts on it were directly slaughtered. No one could escape or resist. Everyone's expressions once again changed upon seeing this ferocious technique of Han Tiandi. This so-called alliance army appeared extremely insignificant at this moment. Yuan, I have given you an opportunity back then. Unfortunately, you did not grab hold of it. Han Tiandi's blood eyes stared at Yuan as he slowly said, "Let everything end here." Han Tiandi admired the many faces that contained horror and despair. Suddenly he felt a little lazy. The things that he had found troublesome to deal with back then currently had difficulty attracting his attention. An elite Dou Di was just like the god of this world. Everyone else were just like ants in his eyes. Han Tiandi's long finger was gently pressed down as he spoke. The world immediately fluctuated. An endless bloody qi gathered rapidly at the tip of his finger. Finally, it transformed into a blood light that directly hurried towards Yuan. Yuan's heart was startled when he saw Han Tiandi attack. The Dou Qi within his body hurriedly whistled out. However, he was preparing to maneuver the natural energy to put up a defense when Han Tiandi smiled. He pressed his finger and softly stated, "Halt." After this voice sounded, Yuan was immediately startled to discover that he had lost connection with the energy in the world. This unexpected change caused some shock to surge onto Yuan's expression. The reason an elite Dou Sheng was so powerful was not because of the great strength of their Dou Qi. Instead, it was because they could maneuver the naturally energy without restraint to attack and defend. However, just the soft voice of Han Tiandi was able to halt the ability of an elite Dou Sheng. In this way, it was equivalent to break an arm of Yuan. Dou Di's shattering black finger. This unexpected change caused one to feel shocked. However, Yuan was extremely experienced. After detecting that he was unable to maneuver the natural energy, the Dou Qi within his body surged to the limit. A low cry sounded. Monstrous Dou Qi gathered into a huge finger. The finger was covered with mysterious lines, after which it ruthlessly struck towards the blood light. Bang! Blood light and the huge reel-like finger suddenly collided in the midair. Grug! The seemingly hard Dou Qi defense burst apart rapidly with great ease as the two collided. Finally, the blood light ruthlessly smashed onto Yuan's body an instant later. A mouthful of crimson blood was spat out. His body staggered backwards. Fortunately, Zhu Kun intervened from behind, aiding him in stabilizing his body. A Dou Di existence dominates this world. You are really far too naive to maneuver the natural energy in front of me. Han Tiandi laughed faintly. He suddenly lifted his hand and aimed at the dense blood cloud in the sky, after which he clenched his hand gently. Blood cloud churned. Immediately a thunderclap sounded. A huge blood-colored lightning descended from the sky. It cut through the empty space and ruthlessly smashed towards the Alliance army. Take formation and attack. Yuan hurriedly wiped off the trace of blood on the corner of his mouth as he cried out in a stern voice. If this blood lightning was allowed to strike, the Alliance army would definitely suffer serious injuries and deaths. The Alliance army quickly braced their attention after hearing Gu Yuan's stern cry. Vast and mighty Dou Qi swiftly gathered into a huge Dou Qi dragon. It subsequently charged forward and ruthlessly collided with the blood-colored lightning. Bang, bang! The two enormous beings collided in the sky. Glaring intense light shone throughout every corner of the Central Plains. However, the entanglement of the two did not last for a long time before that demonic blood lightning forcefully scattered the huge Dou Qi dragon. Grug! A pale expression surfaced on the faces of many experts in the Alliance army as the huge dragon disappeared. All of them spat out a mouthful of blood together. Clearly, they had been injured by the backlash. One man alone was able to fight the entire Alliance army. The strength of an elite Dou Di had actually reached such a terrifying extent. Regardless of how large the group was, it seemed to be completely insignificant in the face of such strength. Gu Yuan and Zhu Kun exchanged glances. They noticed the shock in the other party's eyes. Although they had already expected that an elite Dou Fi would be extremely terrifying, they still had difficulty believing the reality that appeared in front of them. Despite having gathered so many experts, they were actually unable to even stop a Han Tiandi. Dou Di is far too terrifying. Yan Jin's face was filled with bitterness. They clearly did not have any chance of victory in the face of that type of strength. Regardless of what the situation is, we will be able to turn things around as long as we can drag things out until Xiao Yan appears. Gu Yuan clenched his teeth and said. Yan Jin and the others once again laughed bitterly upon hearing this. It was not that they wished to delay the matter. However, in the face of Han Tiandi's absolute strength, all of their actions are completely pointless. All we need to do is delay for a little longer. I can feel that the dragon seal, which I have left in Xiao Yan's body, becoming increasingly faint. That kind of pressure is not something that an ordinary elite Dou Sheng can possess. Ziyan by the side suddenly opened her mouth and spoke excitedly. She and Xiao Yan were connected by a dragon seal. Although she was unable to use it to learn of Xiao Yan's exact situation, she was able to rely on the intense ripple from the dragon seal to guess Xiao Yan's condition. The hearts of Gu Yuan's group shook upon hearing this. Their originally a little gloomy eyes revealed a joyous expression. This was likely the beaten news that they had received during this period of time. In that case, we must block this fellow today, no matter what happens. Zhu Kun lifted his head. He looked at Han Tiandi, who appeared a little demonic as he stood on a blood lotus in the sky. A slight ferociousness flashed across his eyes. Gu Yuan, reorganize the Alliance army. I will fight him. Zhu Kun did not wait for a reply from Gu Yuan after these words of his sounded. His body directly shot towards the sky. Soon after, he twisted his body. A huge dragon, which size left one speechless, appeared in the sky. That vast and powerful dragons might barely manage to scatter some of the blood stench that filled the place. Ancient Oid Dragon. Han Tiandi looked at the huge dragon floating in the sky. Some interest appeared in his eyes. He laughed. I am in need of a steed now that I have advanced into the Dou Di class. If you submit to me, I can protect your ancient Void Dragon tribe. What do you say? Bang! Zhu Kun did not reply after hearing Han Tiandi's words. He widened his dragon's mouth. Purple gold light ruthlessly shot towards the ladder while being accompanied by a destructive force. Stubborn fellow. Han Tiandi involuntarily shook his head after seeing this. He randomly waved his sleeve. The light ray, with a shocking momentum, directly erupted into light spots that was scattered all over the place. He moved his body and he appeared above the huge dragon body in a ghost-like fashion. He gently stomped his foot and the many purple gold dragon scales burst apart. Dragon blood flowed out from the wound like a waterfall. Roar! This sudden intense pain also caused Zhu Kun to struggle intensely. That extremely strong, huge body would cause the space itself to shatter each time it rolled. Boom! Tiandi's blood eyes appeared indifferent. He once again stomped ruthlessly with his foot. That tens of thousands of feet large body had been forcefully stormed by his body until it fell from the sky. It smashed a mountain range below into a sunken deep gully. Many experts from the Alliance army revealed a dim expression in their eyes after they saw that even Zhu Kun was so easily defeated by Han Tiandi. Uninteresting fight. Han Tiandi's body once again returned to the Blood Lotus. He glanced at the countless number of terrified faces and slowly shook his head. Next, the Blood Lotus supported him as he slowly rose into the sky. Let everything come to an end. I do not like the name Central Plains. Hence, this place shall be destroyed. Han Tiandi lifted his right hand gently, after which he pointed it towards the blood cloud that was spread throughout the Central Plains. A dense and ferocious expression slowly surfaced on the corner of his mouth as he suddenly swung his palm. Bang! The thick blood cloud suddenly churned crazily as Han Tiandi swung his hand. Violent energy that left one numb swiftly gathered within it. In the blink of an eye, countless blood-red lightning flashed and appeared within the blood cloud. Bang, bang, bang! These blood-colored lightning, which was filled with a destructive force, had just appeared when it came smashing onto the Central Plains below from all directions. Immediately, the entire Central Plains trembled at this moment. The land split. Every spot that the blood lightning descended on ended up self-destructing because of the sound it emitted. This included even those hidden deep underground. The area around the Alliance had already lost the protection of the defensive barrier. The bodies of those millions or tens of millions of people had ended up exploding as the blood rain descended. In an instant, the area around the Alliance had been covered with viscous blood. Countless number of people fled crazily towards the headquarters of the Alliance. The scene was as though doomsday had arrived. Bastard! Gu Yuan's eyes had nearly cracked as he watched this scene. Many experts from the Alliance were struck by the blood lightning. Without exception, their bodies and even their souls had turned into a bloody fog the moment they were struck. Ha ha ha! The bloody glow in Han Tiandi's eyes became increasingly intense as he looked at the Central Plains, which was covered in a sea of blood. He laughed out loud as he stood in the air, permeated by blood lightning. It was as though he was a world-exterminating devil who had stepped out from the land of the demons. All forces, retreat and defend. Gu Yuan's voice was a little hoarse as he cried out. Under the descending blood lightning, the Alliance army had ended up with terrible deaths and injuries. There was no telling how many experts had ended up dying in it. At this moment, all they could do was to shrink the defense line and firmly resist. Ziyin and the other ladies watched the monstrous sea of blood that filled their eyes. The back of their teeth involuntarily bit tightly onto their lips. This situation caused even them to involuntarily feel a despair. Kai Lin hugged Xiao tightly in her embrace. She did not allow the latter to watch such a bloody massacre. "Mummy, will Daddy appear?" Xiao's small face leaned against Kai Lin's shoulder. Her small body was trembling gently. "Good Xiao. Daddy will definitely appear. You still have to come and protect Xiao. Kai Lin patted Xiao's back and softly said. However, her words had only just sounded when she suddenly sensed an extremely terrifying energy erupting from within the body of Xiao in her embrace. This strength had far surpassed hers within a short instant. Boom, boom! While Xiao's aura had suddenly soared, the bodies of Xiao Zhan, Xiao Ding, Xiao Li, and the others became an inch taller almost immediately. Their auras were also soaring crazily. It is the bloodline strength. The Dou Di bloodline in their bodies had been activated. Yuan was startled as he watched this scene. A wild joy surfaced on his face, after which he suddenly lifted his head, only to find that layers of brilliant flames had suddenly spread in the empty space. They turned into an incomparably huge fire barrier that enveloped the area within a 5,000-kilometer radius of the Sky Mansion Alliance. Bang, bang! The blood lightning ruthlessly smashed onto the fire barrier. However, it was not easily destroyed like earlier. Instead, the flame churned and incinerated the blood lightning into nothing. Flame rolled through the sky. Finally, it turned into a human figure covered in brilliant flames. The faces of Yuan and the rest revealed a joy that was formed from having survived through a disaster as they looked at the flame figure. Xiao Yan, we have already reached our limit. Everything else will have to depend on you. The brilliant flame was just like a fire cloud that spread within the empty air. A terrifying temperature rose in this place, causing the sea of blood on the ground to quickly vaporize. Alliance Chief. It's Alliance Chief Xiao Yan. The Alliance Chief has exited his retreat. We are saved. All hail the Alliance Chief. This sudden flame protection caused everyone, who were fleeing in panic, to come to a halt. Many pairs of eyes were thrown towards the sky. Finally, they gathered on a familiar figure within the brilliant flame. Immediately, the faces of everyone revealed an excitement and wild joy. A deafening cheer resounded over this place. Many of them had even knelt down in their excitement. The hope after despair caused their faces, which still had some lingering panic, to tear from their great joy. After the various battles, Xiao Yan's position in the hearts of everyone within the alliance was something that no one could match. Although Xiao Yan might be lacking in terms of age and experience, everyone knew that it was precisely these seemingly weak shoulders that were supporting the entire alliance. In the hearts of many members of the alliance, that figure was one that would never fail. This was a kind of cult-like crazy devolution that they had towards Xiao Yan in their hearts. This kind of craziness would clearly spread wildly like a virus amidst this despair. Hence, even those who did not belong to the Sky Mansion Alliance also revealed an excited expression on their faces. They needed a support that they could rely on in the face of complete hopelessness. The fire curtain spread in the sky and enveloped the millions of people around. The human figure within the brilliant flame also became increasingly clear as the fire curtain spread. Finally, the flame weakened and a black, clothed figure clearly appeared in the air. It is really Xiao Yan. A large number of experts had clustered together a short distance from the Alliance headquarters. From the looks of it, all of them belonged to the same faction. At this moment, a burly man from within the group was lifting his head. His eyes were fiery hot as he looked at the figure in the sky. Rich excitement filled his voice. Big Brother Lu Qing, is it really him? A pretty lady behind the man involuntarily asked. Who could have imagined that after having not met this person for just over a decade, the junior whom she had trained with at the Jianan Academy back then had actually reached the true peak of the continent? Haha, Lu Fei, there is definitely no mistake. Ugh, this fellow is really too terrifying. Back then at the academy, his strength was still similar to mine. The man was surprisingly the person called Tyrant Spear Lu Qing back at the Jianan Academy back then. Lu Fei bit her red lips with the back of her teeth. She lifted her head and looked at the distant sky, where the figure, which was worshipped by countless of people like a god, stood. Her expression was a little complicated. Who could have imagined that the person, who had a little conflict with her at the Inner Academy back then, would actually have reached such a stage? Some other familiar eyes were also observing the figure in the sky from other spots around the Alliance. All of them sighed emotionally. Xiao Yan, The many experts from the Han clan outside of the fire barrier revealed a dense shock in their eyes as they looked at the familiar figure. Clearly, none of them could imagine that Xiao Yan had actually reached this terrifying stage after having been missing for over half a year. Dou Di Xiao stood on the blood lotus. His blood eyes had also revealed an intense fluctuation. A moment later, he finally could not resist muttering, "How is this possible? How is this possible?" Han Tiandi's expression suddenly became ferocious as he muttered. His voice had also turned into a roar that reverberated like a thunder in the sky. Han Tiandi could not be blamed for suddenly losing himself. He had paid an unknowingly great price in order to reach this stage today. Yet, after he had succeeded, he found that there was someone else who had also reached the same stage as him. How could he easily accept this? This was especially the case given that this person was merely an ant, which he could easily kill a year ago. The unbalance in his heart had reached its limit. Haha, you are not the only person in this world who has advanced into the Dou Di class. A black-clothed young man appeared after the flames scattered. He lifted his head and watched Han Tiandi, who seemed to have lost control of himself. A smile was involuntarily formed. Those originally dark black eyes currently had a brilliant luster surging within them. They appeared unusually warm and deep. There was a fire seal on his brow. It was made of many different brilliant color. A kind of special fluctuation was being emitted from it. In the face of this ripple, the magma deep underground had began flowing at a significantly faster rate. Xiao Yan quietly stood in the sky. There was not the slightest Dou Qi ripple over his body. He appeared extremely ordinary. However, only a genuine expert could sense just what kind of unimaginable power was present within the skinny body. That strength could destroy the world. Your body has the scent of the Dou Xi ancient god. Han Tiandi was, after all, not an ordinary person. After experiencing the initial shock, the ripple within his blood eyes also calmed down. His expression had a trace of gloominess as he carefully observed Xiao Yan and spoke in a dense voice. I was merely lucky in obtaining the inheritance of the ancient god. Xiao Yan laughed softly. Damn nihility, devouring flame. Xiao Yan glanced at him indifferently. Immediately, his eyes swept over this land, which was about to break apart. Finally, he extended his hand. A brilliant light landed onto Zhu Kun, who was sent flying towards the ground by a kick from Han Tiandi. The ferocious injuries on Zhu Kun's body were swiftly healed under this brilliant light. Zhu Kun's huge body swiftly turned into a human form after his injuries were healed. His expression was slightly pale as he smiled bitterly and spoke to Xiao Yan. You are finally out. If you were a little later, everyone present would have likely been killed by that fellow. Elder Zhu Kun, please rest for a while, Xiao Yan said in a gentle voice. Understood. Although Xiao Yan's voice appeared quite gentle, Zhu Kun could still detect that vague pressure contained inside it. That pressure seemed to surpass this world. Under it, even he had no choice but to lower his head. Immediately, he nodded and said, We will guard against the army of the Han clan. Han Tiandi will be left to you to deal with. Dou Di could ultimately only be dealt with by Dou Di. Xiao Yan smiled and nodded. His eyes swept below. The corner of his lips curled as he saw the Alliance army having suffered terrible losses. From the looks of it, Han Tiandi was clearly intending to kill all of them. What ruthless methods! You have actually created such a massacre in order to complete the final step of the D-tier embryonic pill, Xiao Yan remarked softly. The winner is king. The process is unimportant. Han Tiandi laughed coldly. He stared at Xiao Yan and said, Today will be the decisive battle between all of us. If you lose, none of the Alliance army will remain. If you are defeated, the Han clan will also be exterminated. Xiao Yan spoke in a faint voice. He had long since held a deep hatred against the Han clan. If he had the opportunity, he would definitely not be merciful. He would kill those he ought to kill. Good. In that case, let me see if it is my Han clan or your alliance army that will be exterminated today. Tiandi laughed out loud. Monstrous blood qi erupted from within his body. It quickly turned into an endless sea of blood. The energy contained within this sea of blood was terrifyingly strong. All members of the Han clan, withdraw 5,000 kilometers. Tiandi cried out in an icy voice as the sea of blood spread. The experts from the Han clan hurriedly pulled back upon hearing his cry. The fight between two elite Dou Di could destroy the world. If they were to be caught in it, even an elite Dou Sheng would definitely die on the spot. Moreover, everyone understood that the ones who were the key to victory were Xiao Yan and Han. The result of their fight would decide on the final outcome of both parties. Xiao Yan, today is the day I have become a god. Xiao Yan, you must let me have an enjoyable battle. Monstrous blood qi spread across Tiandi's eyes. He stood in the sea of blood. At this moment, a soaring pride was present. This person might be vicious, but he could also be considered a haughty and strong individual. One of them would definitely end up dying in this battle. Xiao Yan had to fight with his full strength in this battle. I will join you till the end. There was also a little excitement surging in Xiao Yan's eyes. This battle would become the top fight within the entire Dou Qi continent in 10,000 years. This battle would definitely spread through the generations. Everyone halted their breaths as they looked at the sky, which had become empty almost instantly. The two of them had not attacked, but their aura had already pressed on everyone's heart like a mountain. Clamor, clamor. The sea of blood covered the sky. Tiandi's eyes' scarlet color seemed to have become much denser. His foot suddenly stepped forward as this face-off lasted for a moment. Bang! The entire sky had trembled as he took this step forward. The monstrous sea of blood churned crazily. It directly turned into a huge hundreds of thousand feet large blood wave as it ruthlessly swept toward Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan's body was tiny as an ant in the face of the huge 100,000 feet blood wave. Xiao Yan's eyes, which contained a brilliant glow, stared at the blood wave, which had a shocking momentum. The energy contained within it could easily shatter a 9-star elite Dou Sheng along with his soul. Flame, come. Xiao Yan moved his mouth. A soft voice was emitted. The moment it did so, the land below rumbled and split into a huge gully. Crimson magma shot towards the sky like a fountain. Finally, it floated in the sky, turning into a huge magma wave that violently clashed with the blood wave. Boom! The land trembled. Blood rain that was accompanied with magma poured down from the sky like a storm. It enveloped around the entire Central Plains. Tiandi was unsurprised that his attack was stopped. If it was so easy to finish off an elite Dou Di, he would not have insisted on pursuing it for thousands of years. Despite this being the case, his expression had clearly become a little more solemn. Xiao Yan had received his attack with such ease. This meant that Xiao Yan had also truly entered the stage and was not relying on some external item to help him temporarily step into it. Blood demon heart, eroding lightning. Tiandi stepped on the blood lotus. His hand suddenly pointed towards the blood cloud that covered the Central Plains. The blood cloud immediately shook intensely like a giant organ and violently shrunk into his body. Bang, bang, bang. During the time that the seemingly boundless blood cloud was shrinking, the space itself also crumbled. Dark black cracks in space spread in the sky with a terrifying speed. In the next moment, the blood cloud suddenly spread. Countless mountain-like blood lightning crazily shot towards Xiao Yan below in a storm-like fashion. The energy contained in every drop of blood rain was sufficient to shock Gu Yuan's group. A grave expression flashed over Xiao Yan's eyes as he looked at the blood lightning that came raining down from all over the place. Incomparably ferocious, vicious aura was present in the blood lightning. If one was struck and the vicious aura entered one's body, it would end up damaging one's mind. Mao! Brilliant flame swiftly swept out from within Xiao Yan's body. Finally, it turned into a giant flame person that stood in the air. This flame giant widened its huge mouth. Immediately, the world became quiet. An extremely brilliant flame suddenly spat out from his mouth like a burning cloud and collides with the countless blood lightning. Rumble! The brilliant flame and the blood lightning crazily collided in the sky. The entire land trembled and formed many huge cracks under this incomparably strong energy fluctuation. Everyone's hearts were seized as they looked at the blood, lightning, and flame attacks that were exchanged in the sky. Such a terrifying exchange could no longer be described with words. Any single attack would likely cause countless deaths and injuries if it landed on the headquarters of the Alliance. Which of the two has a higher chance of victory? Lang asked as he stood beside Gu Yuan. Even he was also frightened by the terrifying battle. Gu Yuan was startled as he heard this. He laughed bitterly and shook his head. This is also the first time I am witnessing a fight between Dou Di. It is really difficult to predict just who has a higher chance of victory. However, Han Tiandi is after all the clan head of the Han clan. An elite Dou Di had also appeared in the Han clan before. It is likely that he would be a little better than Xiao Yan in terms of the usage of some energy. Of course, you need not be too worried. Xiao Yan had also obtained the inheritance of the two, Shi ancient god. He might also possess some lethal attacks. Everyone could only smile bitterly and nod their heads after hearing this. They continued to watch the great world battle in an anxious manner. It was basically impossible for them to intervene when it came to such a big battle.